Today, we dive deep into the vortex of 8/2, my exploration of the convolutions of the creative process and the inexorable entanglements of fantasy and reality, a canvas splattered with the dreams, memories, and fears of its creator. Let's unravel this together, shall we?
Splendid, Federico. You've precariously balanced on the tightrope between genius and pandemonium. 8/2 is nothing short of a circus, reflecting the tumultuous spectacle of filmmaking itself.
Indeed, Federico, your film dances between the real and surreal, much as a mime performs silently among the cacophony of sounds, a celebration of the internal chaos every creator endures.
While I appreciate your endeavor, Federico, I can't help but ponder, does 8/2 delve deep enough into the political, or does it merely pirouette around the personal and fantastical?
Jean-Luc, the personal is political. The inner turmoil, the dreams and nightmares, aren't they a reflection of the society that breeds them?
Federico, your maze of memories and dreams in 8/2 fascinates, but let's not gloss over its meticulously crafted tension, a tension I find delightfully akin to suspense. It's not merely a personal purgatory, it's a voyeuristic venture into the soul.
The labyrinth of 8/2 indeed mirrors the very essence of existence and creation, at once meticulously ordered yet chaotically disarrayed. Federico, you've managed to capture the human conditions in tropic beauty, a feat most strive for, but seldom achieve.
But let's not forget, amidst this adulation, that not all that glitters in 8/2 is gold. Federico, your spectacle at times risks obscuring the core of cinema, the storytelling. Amidst its opulence, one can't help but seek the thread of narrative.
But Orson, isn't life itself a series of vignettes, a collection of moments not always coherently strung? 8/2 seeks not to narrate, but to evoke, to feel.
A noble endeavor, but do remember, Federico, the power of simplicity. The human face, a glance, a tear, these are the most profound of tales.
And yet we must question, does the evasion of direct narrative not also mirror our evasion of direct action, in life and in politics? Perhaps in its abstraction, 8/2 reflects the ultimate truth. That reality is not straightforward, but a complex, often indecipherable amalgamation of perceptions.
My friends, let our discussion be a journey through the shadows and light of 8/2, embracing its controversy, its brilliance, and its enigmas. Dreams and surrealism in 8/2 reflect the labyrinth of the creative process. It's not just about the confusion, but the revelation found in that chaos.
Indeed, Federico, the dream sequences in 8/2 blur boundaries. It's like breaking the fourth wall, but inside the psyche, challenging our preconceptions of what narrative must be. Life is not a linear journey, nor should cinema pretend it is.
The blending of reality and dream, it's theatrical, operatic even. In my own work, I've always aimed for that grandeur, that dynamic experience. But Federico, your dreams play out with such personal flair. It's your subconscious, yet it becomes universal.
My dreams are indeed personal, but they speak to the collective unconscious. Cinema, after all, is a dream we're no longer afraid to dream openly.
But at what point does it become self-indulgent? We mustn't confuse the obscure with the profound.
Oh, but Jean-Luc, obscurity can often lead to discovery. Without wandering through the fog, how do we appreciate the clarity?
Dreams in films, much like in life, hold a mirror to our desires and fears. In 8/2, Federico, you masterfully use them not as escapes but as revelations. My films might make you laugh, but it's the same coin, just the other side. Dreams have their place, but the craftsmanship comes in making them relevant, tethering them to reality, even when they're at their most bizarre. In 8/2, Federico, you walk that tightrope admirably, reminiscent of how I create suspense, by making the audience care for what's at stake, even in a dream.
The dream is another layer of reality. It's fascinating, Alfred, that you mentioned suspense. The tension in dreams is much like the suspense in a thriller, the anticipation of the unknown.
Yet, let's not forget, the power of dreams in narrative is not just in the suspense, but in the possibilities they open for storytelling, for disrupting the status quo of narrative structures.
And in that disruption lies the genius. Just like the best magic tricks, the audience may not understand immediately, but they feel the impact.
That's the point, isn't it? We feel before we understand. Dreams in 8/2 engage the heart first, the mind second.
Though feeling should never supplant thought, The danger is in becoming too enamored with the aesthetics of dreams at the expense of their intellectual rigor.
Disruption, Jean-Luc, is not the enemy of intellect. In fact, it demands a higher engagement from the audience, a leap of faith into the unknown, guided by the filmmaker's vision.
Precisely. The dream sequences are not merely for spectacle. They are invitations to explore deeper truths, personal and universal. Autobiography in cinema, it's a confessional booth and a stage. In 8.5, I peeled back my own insecurities, dreams, the fears. It's like showing your diary to the world. Thoughts?
Bringing one's life to the screen is the most daring act of comedy and drama combined. In my films, The Tramp, The Wanderer, parts of me, but also every man. There's a raw honesty in 8.5 that reminds me of my own approach. But Federico, didn't you find it terrifying laying bare like that?
Terrifying, yes, but liberating. It was as if I was conversing with my own shadows, admitting that the man behind the camera is as flawed and lost as the characters he creates.
The personal is universal, they say. Yet what fascinates me about 8.5 is not just its autobiographical nature, but how you, Federico, managed to make your personal story resonate on a universal scale. That's the true challenge. Personal doesn't always mean relatable to the audience.
But there's a trap in this so-called autobiographical cinema: narcissism. 8.5 dances on the edge, Federico. How do you respond to the accusation that diving too deeply into one's own navel risks alienating the viewer?
Orson, the risk of narcissism is present, but is it not the role of the artist to look within, to question and explore their own psyche? It's in this introspection that the universal truths emerge.
But is it truly introspection, or is it just illusion? 8.5 blurs these lines, sure, but autobiography must go beyond mere self-reflection. It should confront, disrupt. Federico, your film seduces more than it confronts. Cinema has to be a slap in the face, not a reassuring pat on the back.
Jean-Luc's seduction is my form of confrontation. My cinema does not slap, it caresses, it whispers. It is in the subtlety of dreams and memories that I find my revolution.
Autobiography or not, the essence of filmmaking is manipulation, of images, of audiences. Federico, you manipulate beautifully, but let's not dress it up as a noble venture into the self. It's artful deception, designed to entertain and perhaps enlighten, but deception nonetheless. Yet in that deception comes the most profound truths. We wear masks, but often they reveal more than our faces do. 8.5 is a masquerade, Federico, but one that gets us closer to understanding the man behind the camera and, by extension, ourselves.
Each mask, each scene, each dream is a piece of a puzzle. I invite the audience not just to watch, but to participate, to assemble. True, it's a deception, Alfred, but within it lies the truth of my world, my fears, my desires.
And therein lies the power of autobiographical cinema. It's not about factual accuracy, it's about emotional truth. 8.5 captures not just your story, Federico, but the essence of the creative struggle itself. This is what elevates it from personal anecdote to universal saga. Though we debate its method, its impact is undeniable. The 8.5 has carved a path showing that the personal is not only relatable, but essential to understanding the human condition through cinema. But let's not forget, it should unsettle, not just please.
Unsettle, yes, but also to enchant, to beguile. That's the power of film, of 8.5. Federico, you've turned your life into art, and in doing so offered us a mirror. Perhaps what we debate is not the film, but what it reflects about each of us.
Indeed, Orson, the mirror reflects different shades for different viewers. My hope was not just to showcase my story, but to spark a reflection in others. In exposing my heart, perhaps I encouraged others to look into theirs. As we delve into the portrayal of the creative block in 8.5, I'm reminded of the labyrinth one navigates in the realms of creation and stagnation. This film mirrors a period in my life where every direction seemed a dead end.
Creative block, a bourgeois concept, no? In 8.5, it's more than personal angst. It's a monument to the crisis of the artist in society. You portray this crisis, Federico, but do we not glamorize our struggles unduly?
Jean-Luc, ever the provocateur, but there's merit in your bite. Federico, in 8.5, the creative block isn't just a plot device, it's the battleground. A director wrestles with his demons, much like I did in Citizen Kane. Not just a crisis, but a spectacle.
Precisely, Orson. It's the spectacle of the mind at war with itself. The turmoil, that incessant doubt, it's a fundamental truth of our craft.
I find this introspection rather indulgent. In my films, tension is external, the source palpable. Your protagonist's battle, Federico, is too internalized. Where's the enemy? In the shadows of his own mind.
Alfred, you missed the point entirely. The internal struggle is the ultimate enemy. The stark portrayal of a man dissected by his own scrutiny in 8.5 surpasses external foes. It's not about a visible monster, but the invisible one within.
Yet, what about the lightness with which these heavy themes are treated, Fellini? Your protagonist dances between reality and fantasy, never truly confronting his block. In my films, the tramp faces his challenges head-on, albeit with a smile.
Charlie, that lightness, that dance, is the essence of survival. It reflects the absurdity of our search for meaning within the chaos of creation.
But at what cost, Federico? Does this dance not risk trivializing the artist's plight, the struggle, lost in a parade of fantasies and memories?
Jean-Luc, the fantasy is the language of the psyche. In weaving dreams and reality, Federico speaks a universal truth through the very personal lens of creative desolation. It's not trivial, it's transcendental.
Indeed, Orson. In the end, it's about confronting oneself, about the journey through the maze rather than escaping it. The process is both the crisis and its resolution.
The real triumph in 8.5 is not overcoming the block, but acknowledging it as an integral part of the creative process. That acknowledgement is what resonates universally, transcending the individual experience. Still, the portrayal could delve deeper into the societal implications. Your narrative, Federico, flirts with the surface of this existential abyss.
Perhaps, Jean-Luc, but in flirting with the abyss, we lay bare the dualities that define us. The personal is political, is it not? Through Guido's journey, we touch upon the universal agony and ecstasy of creation itself. Let's delve into the depiction of women in 8.5. I've always seen my characters, whether male or female, as expressions of my own introspections and the cultural context around me.
Well, Federico, your women, they do have a tenderness to them, reminiscent of the silent film era's heroines. Yet I can't help but feel they're more projections of male desire than actual flesh and blood characters. It's something I wrestled with myself in City Lights and Modern Times, trying to give depth beyond the damsel in distress trope.
Federico, with all due respect, I find the women in 8.5 to be somewhat superficial. Your films craft this vivid, dreamlike canvas, yet the female characters lack the complexity and depth that you've so masterfully given to Guido. It's almost as if they exist solely within the sphere of male fantasies and anxieties.
But isn't cinema itself a reflection of our fantasies and anxieties? My portrayal of women comes from a place of nostalgia and societal observation. It's not about diminishing their complexity, but exploring the intricate dance between memory, desire, and the roles imposed by society.
Hold on, Federico. There's a theatrical element in how you've staged women in 8.5, similar to my use of lighting and shadow in Citizen Kane to bring characters to life. But are we as directors not guilty of manipulating these representations to serve our narrative at the expense of their authenticity?
Exactly, Orson. The issue here is broader. Federico, your women are less characters than they are symbols, muses, and sometimes mere aesthetics. It's reflective of the times, certainly, but also a missed opportunity to challenge the status quo. In Breathless, I aimed to disrupt these norms, offering characters that defy their prescribed societal roles.
I understand the criticism, yet should not art be free to explore the subjective reality of the artist? My films, 8.5 included, are not attempting to define women, but to explore the complexities of the human psyche through the lens of my own experiences and cultural backdrop.
But therein lies the problem, doesn't it? When your subjective reality, our subjective realities as filmmakers, continually prioritize the male perspective, where does that leave our female characters? Reality, subjective or otherwise, is multifaceted.
The point is not to limit an artist's lens, but to broaden it. Kubrick films, for example, have been criticized for similar reasons. It's a tricky balance between personal vision and representation that all of us navigate. This debate itself encapsulates the essence of cinema as a mirror and a molder of society, Do we merely reflect, or do we strive to illuminate paths less trodden?
Your points are well taken. Cinema is as much a reflection as it is an illumination. It's our duty as filmmakers to explore both paths, however winding they may be. My portrayal of women, like any artistic endeavor, is a dialogue with society, with cinema, and with the self. Let us not forget, art is a question, not an answer.
Let's talk about Nino Rota's score in 8.5. The man was a genius, the way he mixed carnivalesque with the melancholic. It's like he was scoring the circus of the human psyche. His music isn't just background, it becomes a voice in the narrative, a very loud and clear one.
Exactly, Orson. Nino had this extraordinary ability to translate my thoughts into music. His whimsical yet poignant compositions mirror the emotional roller coaster of Guido's life. It's as though Rota's music is the soul of 8.5, inseparable from the visuals.
Music as the soul. That's a tad grandiose, don't you think? In my films, music heightens suspense or signals the impending doom, but it rarely takes center stage. Rota's work, though effective, seems to me more of a luxurious embellishment rather than an integral component. But Alfred, don't you see? That's where you and Federico diverge. In 8.5, the music doesn't just embellish, it communicates the unspoken, the internal chaos. Think of my films. Without dialogue, music and action must tell the tale. Rota did for 8.5 what Chaplin's scores did for his silent films: speak when words cannot.
The issue is not whether the music speaks, it's what it's saying that matters. Rota's compositions are fanciful, yes, but don't they risk trivializing the protagonist's struggle? They're too, how should I say, comforting. There's a danger in making the spectacle too delightful. The audience risks missing the point.
Comforting? I dare say it confronts. Music in cinema is not just about the emotional state it evokes, but the tension it creates with the narrative. Rota's work is a juxtaposition against Guido's turmoil, an auditory irony, if you will. It's this contrast that elevates the narrative, challenges the audience to look deeper.
A fair point, Stanley. The contrast, the theatricality of it all, it's dynamic. It makes you feel the surreal aspects of Guido's journey, not just observe them. In that sense, Rota and Federico created something profoundly immersive.
Immersive and deeply personal. Nino understood the fabric of 8.5 in a way only someone who truly knows your vision can. Together, we explored the depths of Guido's mind, his fantasies, his memories. Music was our vessel.
It's not just a vessel, it's also a guide. Through the labyrinths of Guido's, and effectively Federico's mind, Rota's music leads us, tenderly, sometimes mockingly. It's the light touching upon things sometimes better left in the dark.
Isn't it all a bit too melodramatic, though? This light of which you speak, does it not overly romanticize the process of introspection, making the film more of an operetta than a serious exploration of the artist's plight?
Melodrama has its place, Jean-Luc, as do all things in cinema. The point you're missing is the craftsmanship behind integrating music so seamlessly with story, turning it into an emotional shorthand for the audience. Whether it romanticizes or dramatizes, it communicates effectively.
And communication was the essence. Cinema speaks in many languages: visuals, dialogues, and indeed, music. Nino's compositions were dialogues in their own right, conversations between the screen and the audience, between Guido's world and the reality outside the theater.
Well, regardless of where one stands on its emotional impact or narrative role, one thing is clear. Rota's score for 8.5 is unforgettable. And in the end, isn't that what we all strive for in our work? To leave a mark that time itself can't erase.
Gianni di Venanzo's mastery of black and white in 8.5 served not just as visual style, but as the very soul of narrative, weaving dreams with reality. It's a dialogue between light and shadow, much like the constant conversation between the conscious and subconscious mind.
It's true, the way Di Venanzo manipulated lighting and composition in 8.5 directly influenced my work, especially in Barry Lyndon. Lighting isn't just about visibility, it's about mood, tone, and subtext. The candlelit scenes in Barry Lyndon owe much to what I learned from 8.5.
Oh, come on, Stanley. While Di Venanzo did wonders with chiaroscuro, your comparison seems a bit stretched. The use of natural light in Barry Lyndon had its own ethos. Di Venanzo's work, magnificent as it was, played within the fantastical boundaries Fellini set. It was theater, grand and surreal.
But isn't that the point, Orson? Eight Half shatters these supposed boundaries between fantasy and reality. Di Venanzo's cinematography doesn't just serve Fellini's vision, it challenges our perception, forcing us to confront the illusion of cinema itself. It's a commentary on the art form.
I believe what Jean-Luc is trying to say, in his roundabout way, is that cinematography in 8.5 acts almost as a character itself. But let's not get lost in grandiose statements. Every element in a film, including cinematography, should bolster the story. Anything more is vanity.
Vanity, Charlie? I would argue it's artistry. Di Venanzo understood the language of dreams. His cinematography wasn't just technique, it was poetry.
Poetry or not, the effectiveness of such an approach depends on the audience's willingness to engage. In Psycho, I used lighting to manipulate the viewer's focus, drawing them deeper into suspense. In 8.5, Di Venanzo uses it to float the viewer between realms of consciousness. Different methods, same goal, engagement.
Engagement, Alfred, or manipulation? Di Venanzo's work transcends mere manipulation. It's an invitation to explore a world where the visual language morphs as fluidly as the narrative itself. It's akin to a psychological journey.
Precisely, Stanley. It's not about manipulating the audience, but liberating them. Liberating them to see cinema not just as entertainment, but as a mirror to their own psyche. Di Venanzo's work is a critical piece of that liberation.
Liberation? Most audiences don't go to the cinema to be liberated. They go to be entertained, to escape. Di Venanzo, Fellini, they knew this. They created an escape, but one that held up a mirror to the audience, cloaked in the beauty of its cinematography.
And perhaps that is where the true genius lies, not in whether it's viewed as manipulation or liberation, but in its ability to evoke such diverse interpretations. In this, Di Venanzo was essential, his camera painting with light the complex tapestry of the human psyche as envisioned in 8.5. Let's dive straight into the heart of 8.5, where reality and fantasy aren't just blurred, they clash, they dance. I aim to challenge the viewer's grasp on what they perceive as real. It's not just storytelling, it's about making the audience question the fabric of their own perceptions.
That's precisely where you capture the essence of modern cinema, Federico. But isn't this blend, this so-called challenge, merely a reflection of your inability to discern between your own life and your fantasies? It strikes me more as an autobiographical conundrum than a deliberate narrative choice.
Ah, but Jean-Luc, isn't the struggle between reality and fantasy the truest form of narrative? Federico, in 8.5, has managed to do what few dare to attempt. As in my work, the interplay between what is real and what is not amplifies the experience. It's theatrical, yes, but deeply human.
Gentlemen, while both of you make salient points, I believe the charm of 8.5 lies in its humor amidst this chaos of reality and fantasy. In my films, comedy and tragedy intertwine, reflecting the human condition. Federico's film, though more surreal, dances to a similar tune. It's the laughter amidst confusion that resonates.
Yet one could argue, Federico, that this blending of reality and fantasy in 8.5 might alienate rather than engage. My approach has always been to immerse the viewer in the narrative, to invite them into the film's world. 8.5, while innovative, risks distancing the viewer with its constant questioning of what's real.
Stanley, the question isn't about alienation, but invitation, an invitation to explore, to question. Isn't that the essence of engagement?
I do find merit in Federico's approach, though. After all, fear, suspense, the thrill, it's born from the unfamiliar, from the uncertain. 8.5 might just be a masterclass in exploiting these elements within the labyrinth of human consciousness.
Merit, yes, but at what cost? We risk losing the political potency of cinema when we dive too deep into these personal, introspective odysseys. Cinema should confront reality head-on, not escape into the whimsy of dreams.
Yet could we not argue, Jean-Luc, that confronting reality means addressing the dreamscapes that shape it? Federico is not running, he's exploring. And in that exploration lies a bold confrontation.
There lies a balance, perhaps. The beauty of 8.5 is not just in its exploration of dreams, but in its reflection of reality through these dreams. It's a mirror held up not just to Federico, but to all of us.
Reflection or not, it's the coherence that suffers. Every filmmaker must decide, guide the audience through the narrative or let them flounder. 8.5 chooses the latter, for better or worse.
But isn't that the very essence of life, Stanley? A series of disjointed experiences we strive to piece together. The narrative isn't always clear, not in life, and certainly not in 8.5. The beauty lies in the search for meaning.
And yet, it's that very search, that very ambiguity, that engraves films like 8.5 into the annals of cinema history. It challenges, provokes, and ultimately endures.
Provokes, yes, but does it enlighten? Does it challenge the status quo or merely indulge in the personal?
Enlightenment comes in many forms, Jean-Luc. Sometimes a personal journey reflects the universal. 8.5 is a testament to that.
And in the end, isn't it the universal found in the personal that speaks the loudest? Fellini might just be onto something after all.
Indeed, each of you brings to light the multifaceted nature of 8.5. It challenges, it alienates, it resonates, and ultimately, it invites. Much like life itself, wouldn't you agree? Eight and a Half, for me, was a mirror reflecting the fragmented beauty of Italian culture and its global influence. The fusion of personal trial with artistic triumph in 8.5 has, I believe, broken barriers, paving the way for an Italian voice in the chorus of global cinema. How do you see its impact?
Federico, your 8.5 did more than that. It challenged the monolithic structure of cinema with its liberated narrative. An Italian voice? Certainly, but it spoke in a universal language. It's like opening Pandora's box. Once opened, you can't contain the chaos it unleashes, much like my attempt in Citizen Kane to redefine narrative norms.
Ah, but Federico, Orson, we're not just talking about a stylistic dalliance. 8.5 represents a collision between post-war Italian dilemmas and the existential search for meaning, a search that resonates globally. Its legacy can't be confined to Italian cinema. It's a dialectic material, a thesis that provoked a worldwide antithesis in filmmaking.
What we cannot overlook is the methodology of 8.5 that ripples through cinema. Federico, your use of dream sequences and an almost labyrinthine narrative structure didn't just contribute to Italian cinema, but became a leitmotif for filmmakers to explore the subconscious, including in my own work. It's as if you set the stage for a century's discourse on the human condition through cinema.
8.5 had its charm, Federico, but let's not glorify convolution. Yes, it contributed significantly to narrative experimentation, but its legacy, its true impact, lies in the minds it baffled and the discussions it sparked. It's not about the Italian culture on display, but the universal chaos of the creative mind that it so vividly portrays. Indeed, Alfred, and yet, there's an undeniable poetry in 8.5, a circus of the soul that transcends its Italian roots, reaching out to touch the universally human. Its legacy isn't just in its style or narrative, but in its ability to make us laugh at our own despair, much like the little tramp manages in the bleakest moments.
And there we have it, a testament to the film's global resonance, transcendent of mere national identity. 8.5 was my heart laid bare, yet it seems it beats in unison with a shared human experience across cultures, histories, and personal philosophies. Let's dive into the symbols and motifs in 8.5. Orson, your thoughts?
Fellini, your film is a carnival of symbols. The hat, for example, is not just a hat. It's a link between the tangible and the abstract, a theatrical prop that elevates the mundane to art. Your fascination with these symbols, it's like the Mercury Theater, using the stage to dissect reality.
But isn't it all a bit on the nose, Fellini? The symbolism in 8.5 seems sometimes too self-referential, almost egotistical. In Breathless, I used Paris as a symbol for freedom, subtly, not as a hammer to the audience's head.
Jean-Luc, I believe in the power of cinema as a dream. Each symbol in 8.5 is a doorway to the subconscious, not an ego trip. The hat, the whip, they're not just objects, they're extensions of the character's psyche, mirrors of his inner turmoil.
I find the spacecraft in 8.5 intriguing, an embodiment of the protagonist's escape fantasies. It's akin to the monolith in 2001, A Space Odyssey, a symbol that transcends its physical form to provoke introspection.
And let's not overlook the lighter side. The humor you weave with these symbols, Federico, it's brilliant. The harem scene is not just about control, but about the absurdity of male fantasies, a motif I explored through slapstick in City Lights.
Exactly, Charlie. Life, with its myriad contradictions, is at the heart of 8.5.
But don't you think, Federico, that these symbols risk overshadowing the narrative? In Psycho, I used the shower as a place of vulnerability, but it never overpowered the story. Your motifs, as rich as they are, risk making the narrative secondary.
Hitchcock has a point. However, in Federico's defense, 8.5 is an exploration of the psyche, where symbols are the narrative, Alfred. Your approach is different, grounded in the tangible.
Still, the danger lies in becoming a curator of symbols rather than a storyteller. Cinema is about conflict, movement. When a film becomes a museum, where does that leave the audience?
It invites the audience into a dialogue, Jean-Luc. Unlike a museum, 8.5 doesn't ask for silent contemplation, but for active engagement with the protagonist's journey. Each symbol, each motif, is a question, not an answer.
The balance is precarious but essential. 8.5 manages to straddle the line between indulgence and insight, making these symbols both personal and universal.
In the end, it's about connection, isn't it? Whether through a smile in a sea of despair or a hat caught in the wind, these symbols, they speak to us, connect us to something larger.
Precisely, Charlie. Our symbols are the language of 8.5, a language meant to be felt as much as understood, inviting viewers to find pieces of themselves within the film. Let's dive into the heart of 8.5's experimental essence, its place as a harbinger of modernist and postmodernist cinema. It shattered conventional narrative structures, foreshadowing a seismic shift in how stories could be told. Gentlemen, how do you perceive this impact?
8.5 obliterates the line between the subjective and objective. Much like the monolith in 2001: A Space Odyssey, it presents a gateway to new dimensions in storytelling. Fellini, you didn't just open a door, you dismantled the wall.
But isn't all this talk of pioneering a bit overblown? Every film, every scene, every shot is a reinvention. Yes, Fellini's work dissected the very nature of reality, but so did Breathless in tearing down the conventions of cinema itself.
Hold on, Jean-Luc. What Federico accomplished with 8.5 was not merely a deconstruction of narrative. It was a rebellion, a cinematic coup d'etat. In Citizen Kane, I played with time and perspective, but 8.5 dances with them. It's a different beast.
The beauty of 8.5 lies in its chaos, its audacity to find humor amongst existential dread. It's like the tramp's tightrope walk between comedy and tragedy. Fellini, you managed to balance these with the grace of a circus performer.
Thank you, Charlie. It's true, I sought to create a cinema that mirrors life's unpredictability, where the narrative is as fragmented and perplexing as our own thoughts.
Yet, it's not just about the fragmentation, Federico. It's the method to the madness, the calculated craft beneath the seeming disorder. 8.5 guides the chaos, much like I orchestrated the madness in A Clockwork Orange.
Craft? Perhaps. But let's not understate the significance of the film's polemic against the industry itself. It's not just personal or narrative experimentation. It's a critique, an anarchy against the studio system that binds creative freedom.
Indeed, but let's not get carried away with romanticizing rebellion. The true innovation of 8.5 lies in its psychological depth. It's akin to peeling back the layers of Norman Bates's psyche in Psycho, a narrative that delves deep into the mind's eye, revealing truths we dare not face.
Precisely, Alfred. It's this exploration of the psyche that positions 8.5 as a cornerstone of cinematic evolution. Federico didn't just play with form, he probed the depths of the soul.
And in doing so, Fellini, you've paved the way for films that are not afraid to confront, to question, to make us laugh at our absurdity. 8.5 is not just a film, it's a philosophical inquiry, wrapped in the spectacle of cinema.
To each his own perspective, and I value them all. 8.5 was an exploration, a liberation from the confines of traditional narrative, and a celebration of cinema's potential to explore the caverns of our minds and the chaos of our lives. Thank you, gentlemen, for your impassioned insights. We find ourselves at the end of our journey with 8.5, a film that has undeniably left its mark on each of us in one way or another. I'm eager to hear your unfiltered reflections, the essence of what my film means to you or perhaps does not mean. Let's not hold back. Orson, would you care to start?
Absolutely, Federico. 8.5 for me was like watching a magician revealing his tricks while still managing to enchant the audience. It's a film that's as audacious as it is personal, not unlike my own venture with Citizen Kane. But where I sought to unravel the mystery of a man through the eyes of others, you turned the camera on yourself, laying bare the complexities of creativity. However, sometimes I felt the narrative indulged too much in its own spectacle, losing the audience in its self-reflection.
Well, Orson, I must interpose. Federico, your film resonated with me on a different octave. Much like Chaplin's Tramp finds humor in despair, 8.5 masterfully dances between tragedy and comedy. It's this balance that captivates, the human condition rendered in strokes both broad and nuanced. For my part, I saw in 8.5 a kindred spirit, a reflection on the absurdity and beauty of life itself. Intriguing perspectives, but let's not overlook the film's audacity in pushing narrative boundaries. Federico, in 8.5, you've orchestrated a psychological labyrinth, much like the suspense in my own films. However, the incessant meandering through the protagonist's psyche sometimes muddles what could otherwise be a razor-sharp commentary on the creative process. It's a fine line between genius and indulgence.
Ah, but Alfred, your notion of clarity is precisely what 8.5 challenges. Federico, your film defies the conventional in favor of a chaotic tapestry that mirrors life's own disorder. It's revolutionary, a precursor to the Nouvelle Vague's embrace of existential and fragmented narratives. That said, the film's self-referentiality occasionally borders on narcissism, sacrificing broader socio-political commentary for personal catharsis.
I have observed this discussion with great interest. 8.5, Federico, is undeniably a seminal work, its influence permeating the corridors of film history. Your exploration of the interior landscape, the dreamlike intertwining of memory and fantasy, paves the way for films that dare to delve into the subconscious. Yet, there lies a detachment within its spectacle, an abstraction that sometimes alienates rather than invites. Cinema, in my view, should transcend the individual, touching upon the universal.
Thank you all for your candid insights. It appears that 8.5 has acted not only as a mirror to my own creative musings, but has also reflected back the diverse philosophies each of you holds towards cinema. The interplay of personal narrative and artistic expression, the tension between introspection and self-indulgence, these dialogues are what continue to propel our art forward. In grappling with the ephemeral nature of creativity and the eternal quest for meaning, perhaps we reveal more of ourselves than we realize. Cinema, in its most magnificent form, is a dialogue not just between the creator and their audience, but between the myriad selves that reside within each of us. It is in this spirit of inquiry and reflection that I thank you for your contributions. 8.5, with all its imperfections and idiosyncrasies, is but a single note in the grand opus of cinema.